You know, if you hang around today, I'll show you how to cast something that looks like this. Hopefully you're not going to learn how to cast something that looks like this. I think that's right. Is that right? No, that's right. That's the right orientation. This is supposed to be a 6 and a 0. I cast this for a friend of mine. I actually gave it to him as a gift on his 60th birthday, and just as a joke mostly. That was my very first casting, very first sand casting. Well, since then I've tried to make a casting like this for my wife, and it came out a lot better, but not good enough that I want to keep it, so it's going back in the furnace. And I'll show you over here, when I go over to the table, what went wrong with this thing. And hopefully today we're going to figure out a way to fix all of the problems that happen with this and get a good casting here. So let's go over to the table and I'll show you what I did. All right, first of all, I crack up every time I look at this thing. It is so bad. All right, so here's what I did next. I made this thing. And I was going to show you, I had a friend printed on a 3D printer. Now, this is not the one that we've made this from. Very similar, but not the same one. And what I had here was I had letters that were 1/4 of an inch high with a 5% draft on them. And we drafted it, I think when he did it, he drafted it from the bottom up, so the letters got real skinny on the top, which was not so much of a problem because a lot of them came out. But where I have a problem here is things like the E's and the A's and the G here, especially. You see the bottom of the G didn't release, and then I had places here where the sand kind of caved in around the edge of it. Anyway, so we've lowered these letters. They're 1/8 of an inch high now on this pattern. And we did change the draft to go from the top out. So they actually have, and he was actually able to get, I'm going to see if you can, I don't know if you can see that or not. But like right here on the A, you can almost see, you can see how much it's drafted. And the idea with the draft is when you pull it out, because it's in there like this, and as soon as you start to lift it, the whole thing is separated. There's not this idea of trying to drag it up through the sand. As soon as you get it to move up, it's separated. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to get this thing coated with the cornstarch. It's not talc, but it releases pretty well, so we're going to use that. And get it packed in there. So let me do that first. I'm pretty liberal with it. One thing in my life I'm liberal with. I told you a personal thing about me. Ooh. All right. Pretty well coated. Looks whiter than it is. Next step. Sift the Petrobond over the top of it because we want it to be nice and granular when it gets in there, so I can fill in the entire pattern. I don't want any lumps, big pieces. All right. Get it packed in there. I'm packing it fairly firm. I found that it seems to come out of there better that way. Center it up here in the drag. I could just put bigger, heavier stuff because we're just filling. Okay, we've got the drag is all packed. I need to, one thing I didn't think about when I made my drag, cope and drag, my flask, is because the only edge it's got when I set it up on end is this edge, it doesn't really stand up. I guess I could probably do it this way. Maybe that's what I need to do. Stand it up that way. So now it is time to do the cope. And the cope, actually, it's not time. I want to show you something. This is something I've been learning. And maybe it'll be of help to you. Maybe not. I don't know. But let me see if let me bring you in just a little bit closer here. Okay, one thing that I found is that sometimes the sand, I guess if my pattern is not perfectly flat or my table's not perfectly flat or whatever, but for example, right here, I don't know if you can see it like I can, but the sand is actually on top of the pattern. And what happens to me is when I pull this thing out of here, that sand, because it's kind of like over the top like this, when I pull it up, it comes up and then it falls right back down inside. And then I got to deal with trying to clean it out, and it's just no good. So we're going to just take the spoon and we're going to go around the edge. And you're probably thinking to yourself, if you're a newbie like me, oh my gosh, what's he doing? He's making that big groove. It's not going to be flat. Well, that's the beauty of putting the cope on, is the cope will actually fill all this in. And I will have a nice clean edge, even though I just did that to it. So now I've got all of the sand away from my pattern. So when I pull the pattern out of here, it's going to come straight out. So let me go ahead and just put some, pack that a little bit. Don't want any loose sand. Don't want any loose sand. Okay. Go ahead and pack that. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the cope on, and we will start working that. This is me screwing up. What a shock. What a shock, me screwing up. I should have done this before I put the cope on. That's how I screwed up. In case you're thinking, what did you do? You probably weren't, though. All right. Now we can start putting our sand in. And I'm going to go ahead and sift this because I just want it nice and smooth on the bottom of that plaque as well. Let's get it packed. All right, I almost got the cope done. I'm just going to build up a little mound around my sprue and my riser, just so that I know it's not a lot, but just a little bit more pressure coming down into the tube. So we'll just cut a little drain there so that it can drain towards the middle of the flask instead of the outside of the flask. I know I don't want to have molten metal chasing me across the floor. All right, let me get this cleaned up and we'll take it apart and see what happens. Okay, there are multiple there are multiple moments of truth in this whole process, this being one of them. Is the cope and drag going to come apart and come apart cleanly? That's the first moment of truth. So let's lift it up and see what happens. Ooh, that was a little bit scary. But it did. And you can see this where I took the spoon? See how that filled in? Nice clean separation now. I don't have to worry about it filling back in with falling debris So I'm going to go ahead and cut just a couple of holes out here first before I pull this pattern out. It's crucial. I found that out. If you cut this stuff out while the pattern is still in there, or not out, while the pattern is out, and you get this loose sand down in your pattern. So you got to get it, you got to cut these things while the pattern is still in there. At least that's my experience. Now, somebody who knows what they're doing might say, oh no, you dummy. If you just do it right, it doesn't happen that way. Well, I haven't been able to do it right yet. Here's the other thing I learned. Got to cut a big enough gate to get the material through. I made one of these once that had a really narrow and really shallow gate. That's what I'm cutting now is the gate to get the metal into the pattern. And when I did that, what happened is I got a lot of backup on the pour side, on the sprue side. On the riser side, I didn't have hardly. I had some, but not a lot of material come through. And that wasn't. I don't think that was good either. I think I had pressure problems because of that. So I'm going to cut big gates for my whatever you call it, for my metal. Now, here's the other thing. I don't know that I need to do this, but I'm gonna anyway. I'm gonna take this screwdriver and I'm gonna tap on the pattern. Now, I've pulled this out before without doing this, and it came out clean, but I am so paranoid about getting this thing out of here clean. I do everything I can to make that happen. All right, so now I've got my fill holes cut for where the riser and sprue are going to go down in. I've got my gates cut for the metal to run in and run out. I've got rid of any loose sand that's on here. Getting rid of any loose sand that's on here. So, here we go. This is the big moment of truth. Look at that, man, that is beautiful. I have a little sand right here. I'm not really seeing it though in down here, so I'm going to go with this being good. Now, cut in front of you. Let's pull these PVC tubes out. There you go. Comes out nicely. This is a good thing. Okay. Last critical piece is getting this thing back on here without it collapsing. Come on. Done. Whew. We're ready to go. Let's go melt some metal. Got my metal melted and I'm getting ready to pour and I realized the camera was turned off. Anyway, it's still melted. It's sitting inside that hot crucible. Hopefully it will stay hot. Get it out of there. Okay, here we go. I think that was a pretty good pour. I think that was a pretty good pour. Yeah, we shrunk down in there pretty good, but it's still in there. So I'm hoping I got enough pressure. It definitely flowed much better this time. Flowed good. So we'll let it cool. We'll try to get it apart. I don't know how long you're supposed to let this wait, but it's hardening the sprue in the riser, so I'm going to assume it's hard in the heat out of it. So you're going to get to see it right along with me here. Here we go. Let me get this up on here. Set that there. It didn't stay in the bottom, so I guess that's a good sign. There we go. Grab hold of this thing and pull it out of here. I'm nervous. Are you nervous? You're probably not as nervous as I am. Oh, don't do that. I gotta get a better grip here. I gotta get a grip in multiple ways, huh? Get a grip. How about that upside down? I still had some trouble with my E's. For some reason, the top of my E's don't look real great. But they're there. Everything else is there. This is far and away the best one I've done. Far and away. Let me get it cleaned up and I'll come back. I'll show you the finished product. All right, here it is. I am pretty pleased. It got a couple errors. I'll be the first guy to admit it. The E's and the A's are still got a little bit of a problem. I just think this is just a hard thing to cast. And I guess I got a piece looks like I had a piece fall down from the cope into it. But you know, I was showing you on that with that spoon. That's how the back end came out. I didn't do anything to that. It came out nice and clean and sharp, even though I did the spoon around it. So that's good. And I think we're going to call this a keeper. It's not, where is it? There it is, with lots of light shining on it. All right, there it is. I'm going to call this my first really successful cast, and I'm not disappointed. I'm pretty happy with this. Considering this is like my 1, 2, 3. If you count that thing I gave my buddy, fourth time trying to cast something, and this is a pretty intricate thing. It's not like you know, it's just a blob that I'm trying to cast. I got all these tiny letters in here. I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. It looks good. I'm not ashamed to give this to my wife. This is for her birthday. It was like a week ago because it's taken me forever to get this thing right. But that's all right. Anyway, this is living proof. You can do this too. So you have a great day. Hey, as always, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, go ahead and click the thumbs up button down below. It really does help. If you'd like to be notified when we publish new content, go ahead and click my channel icon to subscribe. And finally, while you're here, take some time to check out some of our other videos. Have a great day and get out there and do something new today.